And now, please welcome President RSA, Rohit Ghai.
Good morning, fellow humans. What is it that makes us human? Our opposable thumbs, the size of our brains, the fact that we can pass the Turing test, or something else? Since the dawn of our species, we have gathered around fires and told stories. We are biologically hardwired for stories. Opposable thumbs let us hang on. Our stories tell us what to hang on to. Stories make us human. We created language, used it to capture information, first on cave walls, then books, now computers. We were the first species to figure out how to pass facts and stories to our next generations outside of what was encoded in our genes. Facts help us understand the world as it is, but it is stories that help us imagine the world as it can be. And it's ultimately this wanderlust for the future that changes the world. Stories have a profound impact on the way we feel, think, and act. They move us. To Kill a Mockingbird moved readers to view the world from the eyes of a young person facing racial and social injustice and catalyzed the civil rights movement. In 1977, three brilliant minds, Ron Rivest, Adi Shamir, and Len Edelman, humanized the narrative in their famous paper by giving names to the human characters. They talked about Bob and Alice's need to have a secret conversation, which ignited the imagination of cryptographers. Now, this particular story created an iconic company, an industry, and a conference. Meanwhile, Bob and Alice are still hanging out in cryptography papers. Now, I am honored to welcome the good humans in the story of cybersecurity to RSA Conference 2020. Now, we appreciate your participation despite the circumstances. And I want to convey my thanks to Mayor London Breed and her office for collaborating with our conference team to ensure a healthy and safe event for all. Now, you may have also heard about an update to the story of RSA. Last week, Symphony Technology Group announced that it is acquiring RSA, and we are excited about a future with them. Now, while this does represent a change, what will never change is our commitment to our customers and partners, as well as how seriously we take our privilege to bring the industry together at this conference like we have for the last 3 decades. Our conference theme this year is the human element. And what better way to discuss this than to review the story of our industry, paying particular attention to the human characters. Yuval Noah Harari, author of *Sapiens* and a masterful storyteller of our era, has talked about how the advent of artificial intelligence will create a new class of humans, the useless class. Those that are not just unemployed, but unemployable. In this data-centric world with advanced AI, will the humans of cybersecurity matter? Now, I don't know about you guys, but the only time I'm okay being labeled as useless is the weekend after the RSA conference. I am so tired and so giddy at the same time. Quite useless, actually. Now, AI is now everywhere. Frito-Lay is using AI to build better potato chips. We have already seen adversarial AI in action in a well-publicized story where an AI-based deepfake audio mimicked the voice of an executive to dupe the CEO of a utility company into initiating a big wire transfer. We are leveraging AI models to reduce fraud in billions of card-not-present transactions via the EMV 3DS version 2.2 protocol. We are also leveraging AI to process data from networks, logs, endpoints, and all facets of the attack surface to make the human analyst in the SOC more effective. So AI is clearly augmenting the attacker, and the defender, but will not make either useless. AI itself is vulnerable to cyber attacks, data poisoning during the learning or the inference phase. So while AI will be busy making some subset of the humans useless, we will make ourselves useful defending AI and other useful humans. Humans are absolutely here to stay in the story of cybersecurity. Now, a story has a backdrop, narrator, actors, and observers. 2,000 years ago, Aristotle identified the elements of a great story: pity, fear, catharsis. The narrator depicts a struggle in which the observer feels pity and gets emotionally entangled with the one struggling. The jeopardy escalates, instilling fear in the heart of the observer. The resolution drives emotional catharsis, which delivers dopamine to the observer's brain and lands the story in their head. Yuval Harari says the impact of a story is more correlated to how many heads it lives inside rather than how real it is. So to change our future, we must change and spread our story. Step 1, let's understand the story we have. Step 2, contrast that with our reality. Step 3, agree on the story we want and land it in lots of heads. So let's get into the story we had. Our early story was simple. The backdrop, deep in the bowels of the data center. Attacker versus defender. Technologist versus technologist. Not many observers at this point, and it was us, the defender, narrating the story. Now, as technology became pervasive, our story became mainstream. The backdrop, a pervasive technology infrastructure, core, edge, cloud technology, not just in data centers and cloud, but with the advent of 5G, pretty much everywhere. In televisions, cars, shower heads, on our bodies, in our bodies. The World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report 2020 was recently released in Davos. It included the Global Risk Perception Survey to measure which global risks are likely to increase going forward. Cyber attacks in the top 5, along with economic confrontations between major powers, domestic political polarization, extreme heat waves, and destruction of natural ecosystems. Quite a list to be on. Now, 76% of respondents believe cyber risk will increase in 2020. Through our customers, we, RSA, have the world's largest risk database. And we recently conducted a survey of risk officers in the most highly regulated industries and published the RSA Digital Risk Report. The top 3 risks: cyber attack risk, dynamic workforce risk, data privacy risk. So clearly, our story has global mindshare. But we have lost control of the narrative. And the mainstream media now owns the story and is still depicting it as a technical conflict. The story has a few new characters: the users and the business. And here is how it is being told. Business leaders worldwide are concerned about cyber attacks as a strong and well-organized cyber force of hackers use their technical prowess to wreak havoc on understaffed and burnt-out security teams. The users, who should be the first line of defense, are not technically savvy enough and are being manipulated with social engineering attacks, making the job of security professionals even harder. That's our current story. This story evokes pity for the security team, fear from the hackers, and catharsis feels pretty far away. While we have focused on preventing hacks on infrastructure, the adversary has hacked our brains and cranked up the contrast in our story. The zeitgeist has an overly simplified and an incomplete view of the humans in our story. All hackers are technical sorcerers. All users, old gullible folks with technophobia. And we are hapless techies who solely focus on zero-day vulnerabilities and the most advanced threat vectors. Let's dissect the truth. Look, the hackers have done a great job of technical collaboration to create an arsenal of cyber weapons that enable the technically less sophisticated to inflict a lot of harm. At this point, in fact, there are more script kiddies than there are technically savvy hackers. They have recruited exceptionally well and have assembled massive human and bot armies. 71% of the threat actors in breaches are financially motivated. Use of stolen credentials is more than 60% of the top hacking action varieties. And as the Verizon breach report states, utilizing valid credentials to pop web applications is not exactly avant-garde. The highest increase in threat actions was social engineering, and the human asset was the highest growing target asset category from 2013 to 2018. Look, their advantage is not that they have the best tech or the best techies. Their advantage is that they're more organized. Now, we, the security professionals, are living this cognitive dissonance where we understand this, but we continue our technology arms race and keep looking for techies to staff up our teams, creating a self-inflicted talent gap and burnout. We continue to spend an inordinate amount of energy preparing for the most sophisticated threat vectors, while most incidents occur due to very, very basic issues or unforced errors. Look, preparing for the worst does not prepare you for the likely. The burnout issue is real. A recent report across France, Germany, and the UK reveals cybersecurity professionals are falling behind. Too much complexity, too many distractions, too much noise. 2 in 5 reported concerns that they would be held personally liable for a data breach. Just over half feared dismissal if a breach happened on their watch. The vast majority of CISOs say they rarely disconnect from their job. We also have a more inflated view of how organized we are. We are certainly collaborating better among security professionals. The Cyber Threat Alliance and the NSA open sourcing the Ghidra tool, fantastic examples. But we are not organized well to collaborate with the users, business, risk, and IT teams. On the user front, the story does not match reality. According to Pew Research, millennials may be cyber savvy, but they are not cybersecurity savvy and are more likely than baby boomers to get phished. We are also missing some actors in the story. The great news is business leaders, directors on boards, risk officers are now keenly interested in our story, but they are on the sidelines, asking questions, seeking to understand. IT does not even figure in the story because they're focused on scripting and owning the story of digital transformation. I submit, IT, business, and risk leaders are largely observers in our story and not actors. The story we want is a business story of cyber resilience, not a technical story of cyber ping pong. The backdrop is not cyberspace at all. It is our physical space. It is our organic world viewed not from the perspective of the digital technology instrumented into it, but from the lens of the human experiences that technology enables. The struggle that engenders pity and fear is not the struggle of the defender. It is the struggle of the protected. The catharsis is not the eventual creation of an unhackable world, but the magical humanistic outcomes of digital transformation despite hacks. To change our story, we need to do 3 things. Reclaim our narrative, reorganize our defense, and rethink our culture. The story we want to reclaim is not the one we tell each other, but the one that others not in our industry tell about us. And we don't have to get them to believe that we are successful. We just need to get them to believe that we can be. Belief in winnability is important for winning. And in order to do this, we must engage the media and spread our voice through them. We need to leverage social media platforms to amplify our winnability. Now, I know, we are strong and silent types. This is going to be hard for us. But we must. The media has been telling our story based on what we have been telling them or not telling them. No wonder we are depicted in the media as losers, because all we share is our losses. We don't share any wins not because we don't have any, but because we fear it'll divulge our security posture, or perhaps make us complacent, or paint a target on our back. Look, we certainly can share our collective successes even if we don't share our individual ones. We need to share our wins and losses of our adversary. By the way, the two are not synonymous. We don't have to win for the attacker to lose. We don't have to win for the attacker to lose. Take the example of the city of Atlanta. When the city faced a ransomware attack, it cost them millions of dollars to restore service. Not a win for them. However, the city made a courageous call to not pay ransom to the adversary. Now, while this may not work every time, when we deny the attacker's financial gain, they lose, since 70% of them are financially motivated. The hackers are bound by the same laws of economics everyone else is. City of Atlanta did not win, but the hackers lost. The city did a great job of highlighting this, and in response to the attack, built a robust business continuity plan as part of their integrated risk management program, an eventual win. They realized winning is not about avoiding cyber attacks, but business resilience despite them. Owning our story will have tremendous benefits. It will help with burnout. We have ignored the psychology of the defender to focus on the technology of the defender. We have a hard time recruiting because no one wants to join a losing team. Owning our story will also preserve trust in technology. We need to get better organized and resketch the roles of all the actors in our story. Any defense that expects to work needs strategy and context. Business stakeholders, the board, and the risk office need to be thought of not as keenly interested observers, but actors in the story. They are the zeroth line of defense. They need to set strategy and provide context to security operations so they can focus on the risks that matter most. Goldman Sachs recently said they will not manage IPOs for companies with no gender diversity on the board. I look forward to the day when boards mandate cyber competency as a core capability in addition to the focus on diversity. I also look forward to the day when every chief risk officer can quantify and explain cyber risk and partner with the CISO to manage it by providing business context to security programs. All right, on to the first line of defense, which functions to reduce the attack surface. The case of Typhoid Mary in 1906 can be instructive. In the summer of 1906, several members of the very wealthy Warren household fell ill with typhoid, a disease atypical in wealthy households. Upon investigation, it was discovered that the cook at the household, Mary Mallon, was responsible. She had a tragic flaw. She was an excellent cook who did not wash her hands. In this example, accountability for hygiene rested not just with the Warrens, but with Mary. She came to be known as Typhoid Mary and was apprehended and quarantined. In our world of cybersecurity, it is unreasonable to call our end users the first line of defense and hold them solely responsible and accountable for cyber hygiene. We need to consider the people who cook the food rather than those who consume it. For far too long, we have failed to hold IT and software makers accountable for cyber hygiene and vulnerabilities. We keep getting embroiled in this quagmire of liability litigation and have believed that market forces will naturally punish the software makers who do not reduce the attack surface. This has proven to be wishful thinking. Yes, we need to continue to educate the users, but it is time to invite IT to our story as primary characters acting as the first line of defense. This is especially true in the world of edge computing, where technology footprint is pervasive. And with the advent of DevOps, the speed of software and therefore vulnerability creation is exponential. Look, no disrespect intended to IT. IT is certainly cooking up delicious digital recipes, but they better wash their hands and be accountable for reducing cyber exposure. Finally, we need to rethink our culture and shift from a culture of elitism to a culture of inclusion. Expanding our talent pool, filling the talent gap, however you look at it, requires finding defenders outside the tech community. Let's stop being STEM snobs. One untapped resource for us is neurodiversity, which is simply being wired differently. They can bring new perspectives to a company's efforts to create or recognize value. They problem solve in different ways. The neurodiverse population remains a largely untapped talent pool, with unemployment running as high as 80%. Generations experience the world and each other differently. The accelerating rate of change in society creates a gap. Right now, there are 7 generations in the US, 7, 5 of them in the workforce, each with a unique set of characteristics and norms. And we need to harness this entire spectrum and be open to considering potential and not just expertise when we hire. We need to collaborate not just within security teams, but with business, risk, IT, and users. Let's change our culture to a culture of perfection, to a culture of pragmatism. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Look, I am not saying we should lower our standards, but let's prioritize based on risk. Let's take care of the basic issues like multi-factor authentication. A best-of-breed strategy that puts 3 monitors with 5 windows each on the desk of a security analyst may make them feel like technical wizards, but will never help us keep up with the velocity of threats. So there you have it, folks. If we successfully change our story, we have a shot at changing our world to the one we want, a trust-enabled world. In this world, we will certainly use technology to protect technology and recruit machines to fight the good fight. But intrinsically, this will remain a story about us. Humans will remain at the center of our story. In this world, the defenders will be better organized than the attackers, and the spirit of the defender will be strong. We will not go into battle believing that we are going to lose. In this world, we will restore and preserve trust in digital technologies by successfully managing cyber and digital risk. To be clear, it will not be a world without intrusions and breaches, but it will be one where the impact of those breaches does not get in the way of human progress. So whatever fire it is that you gather around, and whichever way it is that you tell our story, make sure it's the right one. You are the humans of cybersecurity, the keepers of our story. And when the fire is long gone, and so are we, it is our story that'll stay behind. And if it is the right one, it'll guide those after us on the right path. It will tell them what to hold on to. We are only as good as the story we leave behind. Thank you.